The big story this week, obviously, was Christian McCaffrey signing a 4-year, $64 million extension with the Carolina Panthers. A move that I guess was kind of expected. You figured that despite all the people on Twitter calling to never pay running backs and stuff, the Panthers were never actually going to trade McCaffrey or let him walk. You kind of had to pay the best player on your offense, especially after the absolutely incredible year he had on a disastrous Carolina Panthers offense last season. But 4 years, $64 million, that's probably way more than anyone had previously thought. $16 million a year for a running back. He becomes the highest paid running back on a per year basis in NFL history, and a lot of negative reactions from analysts, fans, everyone, but also a lot of positive reactions because he is a very fun, very exciting player to watch. So when you compare him to other running backs across the league, so Ezekiel Elliott obviously last year signed that huge mega deal with the Cowboys, 6 years, $90 million. That is probably, even though it's $1 million less a year, that contract is probably more of a disaster than the one the Panthers gave to McCaffrey because they're kind of locked into it for 6 years, even though a lot of it isn't guaranteed, and I believe they have an out after next year. It is a huge contract, and Ezekiel Elliott's already kind of seeing a drop-off after a couple of good years in the NFL. But on a per-year basis, McCaffrey beats out Elliott by $1 million, $16 million, compared to Elliott's $15 million. To my knowledge, as of the time of recording, we actually still don't know what the guarantees are for McCaffrey on that contract. But I can't imagine they're too high. I don't think the Panthers would give, despite obviously paying him a ton of money, I can't imagine they would give more than half of that $64 million as fully guaranteed over the next 4 years. But it does kind of reset the market. Obviously, McCaffrey is a very weird running back where he isn't really a running back. He's more of like a slot receiver, wide receiver 3 type of guy. But also, you probably could find a wide receiver 3 that could provide just as much as a wide receiver for a lot cheaper than $16 million a year. What McCaffrey does as a runner is incredible, but it's somewhat replaceable. And for $16 million, you could probably find a average level running back on the free agency market for $5 or $6 million, and then just a slot receiver for $3 or $4 million. Save $6 million, invested somewhere else. It's also another kind of overpay the Panthers have done this offseason. Obviously, before they even got rid of Cam Newton, they gave Teddy Bridgewater a huge deal. That actually killed all their leverage in trade negotiations regarding Newton because it meant they had to get rid of him, and they ended up cutting him. Newton's still now a free agent. But yeah, just a weird spot for the Panthers. I don't think they're in a position to compete this year, so I'm not sure why they're spending all this money on kind of short-term contracts. I can't imagine I can't imagine they plan on having Teddy Bridgewater as a long-term quarterback, especially with Will Grier, their 2019 second-round pick, still waiting in the wings. And, McCaffrey's a running back. You can't expect him to keep this up for too long. Rarely. Frank Gore is the only running back I can think of who's been able to keep up a high level of play for a really long time. And, so right now we don't have much details on McCaffrey's contract. He'll play out 2020 as normal, fully guaranteed $5.5 million. And then after that, it's all kind of up in the air at the moment. And McCaffrey getting a super deal also has ramifications across the league. Alvin Kamara, another big running back name who's similar to McCaffrey, he was on Twitch when he saw the news the other day, gaming with a few friends, and he reacted. His friends were like, "Oh, what does that mean to you? Does that mean you're gonna get paid?" And it does put Kamara in a weird spot because Kamara obviously dominant first few years in the NFL, but really kind of disappeared last year. And I guess it's up to the Saints. If they think Kamara is worthy of a McCaffrey type deal, they might not give him the $16 million, but he might be able to leverage his way into the good $13-14 million. But on the other hand, is Kamara worth it? Kamara, obviously, he snuck into the Pro Bowl last year, but still wasn't a very good player. He got in Pro Bowl more on name than he did actual level of play. Just in general, the Saints are in a weird spot where Drew Brees might retire soon. He obviously just signed a new 2-year deal, but after those 2 years, who knows what happens? He probably will retire unless he wants to go the crazy Brady route where you play until you're 50 years old. And do the Saints just kind of want to move on after the Brees contracts end? Do they want to say, okay, that's it, Drew Brees is done, that era of our football team's over, we're letting all the big players go, we're just going to rebuild? Because another team, the Los Angeles Rams, kind of put themselves in a weird spot by giving Todd Gurley that gigantic deal. If you go back to the running backs active contract list, Gurley would have been in the top 5 had the Rams not cut him. And I think still he's in the top 10. Yeah, he's right here below Austin Eckler. So, yeah, the Rams really put themselves in a tough spot. And you have to imagine the Saints see what the Rams did and the hell they put themselves through, as going from like contenders with an inflated salary cap to right now entering like a full-scale rebuild, and be kind of worried. So they might let Kamara walk. They might not give Kamara the super that he wants. Kamara might be someone entering the free agency market, sort of like Le'Veon Bell did, and will be set to get a huge deal he probably won't live up to. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell got just over $13 million a year on the deal he signed with the Jets, and while he's a fine player, never really got back, at least last year, never really played like he did for the Steelers. David Johnson, obviously now in Houston, but signed that huge deal with Arizona and has just not done much with it. Derrick Henry playing on the tag. I imagine Tennessee will probably let him walk after the season because, again, I can't imagine he keeps up the pace he was on the last 10 games of last season. That's nearly impossible. Kenyon Drake's on the tag. Kenyon Drake, probably another player that Arizona is just going to let walk. A lot of these dudes are expendable. They get these short-term, very inflated deals, and then they just get let go because they can't actually maintain this for very long. And the Panthers and previously the Rams and Gurley put them in spots that really hurt them long-term. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Saints want to do the same. And then finally, Saquon Barkley. We're still a while away from him having to think about his contract. Next year is 2 years from now is contract year, so next year will be the year where he's eligible for an extension. But the Giants have to start thinking about that too, because they obviously spent the second overall pick on the guy, so they don't really want to let him walk in free agency. And he's been great. He's been a star. His rookie year was one of the best years I've ever seen for running back, possibly the greatest running back year of all time. But it hasn't really translated to wins. Obviously, last year he was injured for a lot of the first half of the season, but even his first season, they weren't really winning anything. You have a really good running back having one of the greatest seasons of all time, and you're still only winning 5 or 6 games a year. Obviously, that running back isn't the key to winning. The quarterback probably is. I'm going to pause this so I don't get copyright strike. But so then Daniel Jones, in my opinion, doesn't really look like the answer, but they're kind of stuck with him, and it puts them in a weird spot. If they let Saquon walk or trade Saquon or something, they're kind of hamstringing the quarterback that they want to be the future, while on the other hand, committing to Saquon and giving him a long-term deal like the Rams did to Gurley or the Panthers did to McCaffery could be a disaster. And for a team who's kind of still not escaped the disastrous 2017 season, entering another disaster is not the best for them at the moment.